My name's Joey, and I'm joined by Paul.
All right, mate.
And by Neil.
Hello.
I said your name there like that was another name coming on, but it is just the three of us.
Neil too.
Yeah, Neil too. I want to start by asking whether we're going to do Moments of the Week this week, or whether we're all united on it being Jamie Sterry's attempted header. Can you even call it an attempted header?
No.
I'm not united on this at all.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it's quite as bad as it's been made out to be. It's certainly not within the realms of Darius Henderson's, fit last year. So.
I so disagree.
No, watch, Paul, watch.
I have. I watched it live, and it's like he's going to head it in. Why is he that? Why is he turned away?
It certainly wasn't Connor Thomas. It wasn't Connor Thomas with an inch off the ground from on the 1 yard line, whatever it is. It wasn't that bad.
No, I did. As I said, when we watched it live. It was like, that's just, why has he done that? A bit later on, I was a bit annoyed he didn't volley it. It was just the fact that you watch it. It's like someone's giving me a 4-second post on Twitter. You watch it in slow mo, and it's like the ball's coming. He's watching it. He's watching it. He's watching it. He's watching it. He's turned away from it. It's hit him on the shoulder. Why? Why is he not? Why? If he hit him in the face, it's like, that's fine. But he's watching it all the way, and then at the last possible second, he sort of turns his head in a completely different direction. It's like, that's just shit. That's really shit.
It just defied all logic to me. Because like you say, it feels like hurling yourself face first at a ball that is basically travelling across the ground is nominally brave on the face of it, isn't it? But then you do have to get your face on it, rather than then looking away at the very last minute. It was like
it did quite
well,
quickly. Maybe I'm just being a nuisance here. Maybe
are you in the right backs union here? It was pathetic. It was just absolutely pathetic.
Full disclosure here, I have got a bit of a bee in my bonnet about people heading the ball that low off the ground. It's something that I've seen happen in the past and consistently infuriates me illogically. So I think that colours it for me more than the hitting his shoulder, or I just don't get it. I just don't know what's going on. Neil, you suggests to me that you have got a moment of the week though.
I have, but it's not as interesting as Jamie Sterry. It's non-football related as well. It was just I found it pleasing. That's probably not the right word. That we were able to have a minute's silence. Because over the last few years, it's become sort of default that it sort of evolves into a minute's applause because people can't be trusted almost. So it was quite nice. I just think it's quite fitting sometimes just to have a minute's silence, get the whole crowd quiet, and you can be trusted to do the right thing. And for the first time in a while, we've actually had one. It's a little thing for me, but it means something.
I think it really does. I don't think that's a little thing in the slightest. That's a really sort of pertinent observation. Yeah, you're right. Normally they do sort of ascend into applause. But no, I think that's and it's nice that they're not ruined by ourselves. Yeah. And it is important. It's a bit of a bummer, isn't it? We're not going to get into this, obviously. It's a bit of a bummer that this argument comes up about poppies and blah, 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 blah. Because it's just noise, isn't it? It's just bullshit. The bit that's important is what everyone knows is important, but you don't get the same volume on that. Paul, are you having anything other than the Des heads?
Oh yeah, I feel like I should take some of the blame for our defeat because, as Joe will know, and I think I've discussed on the pod before, my wife has never seen us win. My eldest daughter has never seen us win, and on Saturday I thought, well, my youngest, she's got to break the curse.
I saw you with her. I saw you walking down the front. You with your little one. I was going to shout down, but then you were holding her, and it was quite a precarious hold, so I didn't want to startle you and anything go wrong. So, no, that's nice to see.
That would have been peak Allison. That would have been peak Allison, by the way. If you'd have called down to him and he'd have dropped his 2-year-old.
Can't say anything.
No, unfortunately, she appears to be a jinx like the rest of them. So, yeah, I apologise for bringing my offspring or female in my life to the football because they're all bloody useless.
And presumably out of earshot. Yeah.
Well, 2 of them are asleep. Jane's probably ignoring me anyway. But, yeah, so I thought Kate might be the lucky omen, but it would appear that she really wasn't. I don't blame her particularly for the defeat. I blame Jerry Sterry for not being able to head a ball. That's one of the reasons.
He had 3 good chances, didn't
he? Yeah. Well, there were good chances until they arrived at his foot or shoulder. But yeah, so that's my moment of the week. My moment of the week sort of is the Jerry Sterry thing, but as you say, there's no point dwelling on how horrendous that was.
Well, I've been doing my bit to boost Cov home performances by not going as often as I normally do this season. And that seems to have been somehow working whilst not feeling like it's working, but it couldn't work its magic on Saturday.
I think it's also helped by the fact that most of the teams we played this season at home have been shit. And Scunthorpe were one of the... The Scunthorpe, we played anyone else in the top 10 at home? Doesn't really feel like it. We probably have.
Yeah, not when it counted, just when it's sort of alphabetical and stuff.
Yeah, it's like Scunthorpe came and they looked like the first team we played this season seemed to have some sort of idea of what they were trying to achieve.
Did they? Strangely, I had the impression that they weren't particularly good, but you felt like they got a bit about them.
They had a bit of grit.
And they were organised. And they weren't good. I mean, the thing is, the way I described the first half, you can either look at it 2 ways. We either cancelled each other out, or neither team really clicked. Because I've seen some people say we were really good in the first half. We weren't. We just weren't that bad. But Scunthorpe were neither brilliant or bad either. But you could sort of see that the things they were trying to do didn't work, and the things we were trying to do didn't work. It was that sort of game. It was like League One standard of players aren't quite that good, so they can't pull off what they're trying to achieve the majority of the time. So but they looked well organised, and they didn't look like some of the other teams we play. You think, what the bloody hell are they trying to do? They looked like a team who had a plan.
That's fair. Yeah.
Talk to me, if you will, about the axis of evil up front, the Wright, Sordell, Agyai triumvirate, which I thought worked really well at Port Vale, but I've seen us taking a bit of a booting on, especially on the Telegraph's ratings system, and I mean whatever that means. But how did that look? Was it poor? Was it awful? I think there's been a lot of clamour for Sordell through the middle. Would you agree with that?
I do know my feelings on these things. You can play a team and it can win a game, but it doesn't mean it's the right team to take you forward. And I can see how that 3 on a particular occasion might win, but that doesn't mean if you play them 10 times, they're going to win 10 times. They might just win that first time it might just work that once. And you look at it, and someone made a really interesting point on the radio, and I'm going to give that guy the sort of credit, but I was thinking the same thing. All 3 of them really enjoy running with the ball, but not one of them, Sordell's probably the better at it, really like running off the ball. So we never try and play the ball through the defence anymore. If our player gets caught offside, it's because they're paying no attention. It's not like they get caught offside because they've made a run early and it's like, shit, the ball's a bit late. It's like Andre Wright was offside because he just wasn't paying attention. Like,
that's so true. That's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's just like, that, for me, is one of the big issues. Andre Wright, he got a couple of times where he got the ball, and Andre, he drifts past a couple of players. Like, he can dribble with the ball. I've got no issue with him on the ball in that sense. But his end product is either he gets tackled or he crosses because he's literally run out of pitch. That's it. It's not like he's crossed because he thought, I'm in a position to cross now. It's like, well, my next touch is a goal kick, so I might as well cross it. And then our guy, he was just at the start of the season we complained about the fact we had no tall strikers. Or in centre-backs.
Yeah.
Like, Scunthorpe had 2 to start off with. One of them got injured, so they brought on someone just as big and ugly. And our guy just... Goes back to that thing we discussed a lot last season, or even the season before, more the season before. What you want sometimes out of a striker is the ability to play the ball to them and then just hold it up. They don't have to skin anyone, they don't have to do anything. What they have to do is get the ball under control, and they can basically face their own goal for a couple of seconds, but give players a chance to get in around them. All our guy wanted to do when the ball went to him was show how good he was and how he could roll a defender.
He did that well, didn't he?
Well, yeah, I mean, Scunthorpe just chuckled and won the... Even if he got past the first one, the second one, because we played one up front, they just took the ball off him because his touch to go past his first man took it to the second defender. And just hold on to it. Don't try and skin anyone. Don't beat anyone. Hold on to it and let someone get in and around you. And he just didn't do it. Whether or not he couldn't do it, or whether or not it's not in his thinking to do that, it just we couldn't hold the ball up front. So the front three, we did have a couple of chances in the first half, but they weren't particularly made chances. We didn't sort of build chances. We just had chances. And you sort of look at it, and I know Sordell has played all right on the left, but I just think you've got to put Sordell through the middle. You've got to build off something. And out of the strikers we've got, Sordell's the man for me. You just say, look, you're number 9 for the next 50 games or whatever, and we'll put other players around you, but you're the main striker. And whatever we do, we won't dick around with you. We'll dick around with the wings, and we'll sort them out. And hopefully we'll find a system out of the other players so we can play with you through the centre. But I don't know if Neil's sort of has any thoughts on that.
I want to quickly get into the idea of playing another 50 games this season. That's quite some season we've had there, presumably.
Yes, please.
I think that's a JPT win, which, as we've discussed before, I'm not going to unless we go to Wembley, and then I'll claim that I loved it.
Let's all do that.
That's standard, yeah. And presumably an half-decent FA Cup run.
And then inexplicably winning the Champions League as well. Which
yeah. Yeah.
Get that in there.
Maybe that's the Intertoto Cup as well, lobbed in. Yeah, Neil, let's have your opinion on the front three.
Yeah. I do kind of get what Paul's saying. I think when you look at sort of logic and attributes and everything, Sordell in the middle makes the most sense. But I can see why Venus has been playing him on the wings, just because we've built this kind of sort of pseudo unit which is working for the last month or so. You don't play about with it, but I think what we saw on Saturday was that actually elements of that haven't been playing that well, and they kind of just exasperated that on Saturday. So I'll put it out there. I thought Aguirre was dreadful. I really did think he was poor, and I'm the last person to have a go at someone for sort of the illusion of not trying, but I can 100% say that guy did not look like he was trying. He wasn't putting in the effort that was needed for him to hold up the ball. I mean, there's a difference between a player working for the ball, trying to earn possession, and ones who just expect it to come to them and then do something with it. And I'm sure when he gets the ball in enough space, and he's shown it on quite a few occasions, when he gets the ball in space, he's got something about him. He can take it past the player. He's got a lovely drop of the shoulder. Great. But in that position, against that team, he needed to desperately want that ball, and he didn't. And it really frustrated me, because I don't want to give him any more chances now, because I've seen him 3 or 4 times in that position play with the same style. And this isn't sort of the Leon Best myth where people thought he wasn't trying, but actually it was just his demeanour. But when you looked at what he was doing with the ball, he actually was putting in quite a bit of effort. This guy just doesn't seem like he's doing it at all. And he's winding me up. So I think we're at a stage where we probably do need to bring Sordell into the middle. And actually logic, if you're looking for a nice balanced team, would sort of suggest that you want Reed and Jones, 2 wingers on each of the side of the pitch. But you have to remember, everybody hates Jody Jones now. So are we allowed to do that?
Why is that, Neil?
It's not... Hold on.
Well, I don't know. He gave the ball away, didn't he? He came on and he was trying desperately to beat a load of players, and people don't like it when you give the ball away, and he did it. And I just think it's unfair. I think people are blinkered, just sit there ignoring anything. When he keeps the ball, ignore it. But if he gives the ball away, he's the worst player in the world, and it's not on. I'm not going to say he had a good game when he came on, because he didn't. But he's had plenty of good games this season, so just give him a break.
Paul,
I think me and Joey have discussed this, and I think it's a big thing, and I think Joey thinks it's less of a big thing. It's almost like I wouldn't have, if he'd have come in and said, I want the number 10 jersey, I'd have told him to fuck off. And I know that sounds really strange, because it sort of doesn't mean anything, but it's just, I think everyone gave him so much hype for how he did at the end of last season, where he played very much like he does this season, where he didn't really produce anything. But because he was coming into that side, he was seen as an exciting player. And now with Maddison gone and Murphy gone and Armstrong gone, he's seen as it's like a lot of expectations put on him to then live up to their levels. And that's unfair because those players are either worth millions or playing in the top end of the championship this season and doing really well. He is a very raw talent. Yeah. And I think he would have been better if they said, just keep a low squad number. Just your job this season is really to just get minutes, to get games, to develop your game. You're not the star player in this team. You might be in a couple of years' time, but at the moment you're just the same as all the other kids who are learning their trade.
To be fair, Paul, he's not been treated that way, but though, is he, by the managers? It's not like he's sticking in the team regardless. He's been on the bench probably more than he's been in the first team, I'd say.
Yeah, an awful lot, yeah.
But I think that, what I mean is the expectation from the fans as much as...
when he okay.
Yeah, when he comes on, it's almost like, oh, Joe Jones is going to come on and change the game.
Not from the guy behind me.
Okay, not from the guy behind you. But the thing is, the reason it's got to this point is because it was like that, and he hasn't done it, and now he's losing his temper with him.
Yep.
And I think you watch him when he came on, and you're like, it didn't help him that when he came on after Ruben Lemares, and Ruben Lemares was playing up front on his own. And, like, you don't want Ruben Lemares as your number 9. Ever. It's like, that was just weird. It was like, I understand why you're taking our guy off. Lemares? Really? And it goes back to this, I think you either have Reed or Jones on the pitch with Lemares and probably Sordell. I don't really... The more the season goes on, I'm not a massive fan of having Kyle Reid and Jones because I think they're very similar in the fact that I don't trust either of them to do what I want a player to do, which is if you can't do the brilliance, at least try and retain the ball every now and then. And both of them are very much like Kyle Reid's probably better at Jones, but Kyle Reid's end product is still horrifically bad, while Jones is just stupid. And one thing I noticed on Saturday was like we didn't have much of an attacking threat. We made the first sub, and bizarrely, even though Ruben Lemares was up front, we actually seemed to get better up front. But each subsequent sub after that, by the time we brought on our third sub, I don't think we had another... We might have had one more chance after that. We actually got worse up front. But Venus did that whole thing with Sordell, was the first sub, Sordell went from in on the right wing to the left wing, and then the second sub he stayed on the left wing, and the third sub he got moved to the centre. And you're like, you've made about 6 changes to your front three, and you've just basically made us more disjointed. And that final front three, I don't really think had an impact on the game, because they were just like, well, where the hell are we stood now? And then behind them, it's like, why take off Andy Rose when you're trying to get a goal? It's like, we all know he's the main, especially sort of ball in the air, he's the main aerial threat. I was amazed that Biggie got man of the match. It's like, the guy barely passed to a COD player all game. Like, he had a really poor game, in my opinion. Yes, and it was, for me, it was more miss than hit. I mean, some of the passes were like, that's just horrendous.
But it was following a good thing, wasn't it? That was the funny part I found. It was like he did something good, to make a really good tackle. He'd drop his shoulder, and then suddenly his legs would just turn to jelly, and he would just like scoop the ball a couple of yards. And just it was typical Biggie. I don't know anybody surprised about this anymore.
For me, it was the first time I'd really noticed in a while just how poor he's distributed. I think I've been giving him the benefit of the doubt. On Saturday, it was just like, that's just... And I think it would have almost gone unnoticed if I hadn't read on my phone later on. It's like, Biggie was man of the match. It's like, really? That match, Biggie? And then Stevenson, I think Stevenson just stands out because he just seems to have time. And some of his interceptions are just, I don't know how he does that. And then the back four, Jerry Sterry had a couple of chances, but we don't want him in the final third because he's horrendous in front of goal. I know he scored, but bloody hell. I saw a lot of people give a lot of praise to Willis and Turnbull. They did all right, but at the end of the day, you watched their goal, and if you actually watch it, Turnbull the man gets in front of Turnbull to score very easily.
Yeah, I thought Turnbull did poor for the goal, yeah.
And why Willis, where was Sterry? Why was Willis on the right wing for that? And, that was baffling. Defence did all right, but I didn't think... Seeing some people giving them 8s, and it was like, well, to me, the only people who deserved sevens were Stevenson and Burge again, who had seemed to do everything all right. He couldn't do anything about the goal, but he kept us in it in the first half with a great save.
And bear in mind, Stevenson didn't do anything for the final 25 minutes.
Fair enough, so you can give him a 6 as well then.
I literally didn't have a man of the match. If there was a possible way we could just not give anybody a man of the match, that would have been the game, because I just felt like nobody played for like the period of the match like close to what they should be playing at. Like I say, Ben Stevenson I thought had a good first half, and I think they were taking a look at him thinking, actually, this guy's pretty handy. But second half, he was pretty much anonymous, and I guess Burge is the closest I would come to someone who did everything they could do, aside from the obligatory poor kicking. Other than that, it was a decent performance by him. But no, I wasn't pleased with. I didn't think anybody sort of covers himself in glory.
This might sound like a strange question based on what you've just said. Then, how poor did you think it was then, Neil?
Well, that's the fun. I didn't think it was a poor game. I just don't think anybody stood out when I was looking at the players and thinking, oh, they're going to be happy with the way they played today. That's going to because you look at Biggie, the guy got man of the match. I'm not entirely sure why, but he got man of the match. But when he evaluates it, I'm sure he's going to be honest with himself. He's going to think, oh, I don't deserve man of the match here. I was giving the ball away like a madman, and But altogether, actually, as a match, I think that might be the first game this season where I've actually felt engaged with it. I'm the ref, the whole hoopla around the referee might have helped, but I've missed that feeling of actually caring about what was going on in sort of a jump out my seat kind of way, and that was good. I think it was a sort of a desperation to keep hold of that home record. But I think Scunthorpe Paul's already said it, they were organised. I think their number 8, what's his name? Dawson, guy in the middle. He was a proper number 8. He was there Vince a lot. He was the guy doing all the right things at the right time, and their central defender, one of them, was just completely dominant. So they made it hard for us. But I think altogether, it wasn't a bad performance. But we weren't doing it. We didn't create. We created a couple of good chances. But if you look at the highlights and you remember back, we had so many chances from about 20 yards out where it was just a shot straight to the keeper, because it was almost like, well, we don't trust ourselves to create anything in this position, so I'm just going to have a shot because it's available to me. And that's where I think we sort of lacked, really. We weren't creating anything of note or through our own volition. It kind of just sort of fell to us.
So I think it's quite interesting. I'm quite disappointed towards the end of the game. I didn't feel like we sort of lost with a bit of a whimper in the end. And I know people rang up the radio and like, but we had more chances than them. And it's like, we were at home chasing a 1-0, deficit. If you're not going to have more chances, then something's desperately wrong. But I know I'm a big one about this, but it's like, last 10 minutes, I don't think we forced a corner. It was just, we didn't really put them under siege. We let them very easily get out. And I know you could almost say, I know people were saying this after the game, that the referee was a big one on that, was the fact that they were cheating or manipulating situations to fall over. But as I said before the game to Joe, it's like there was a one late on where the ball was punted to the left wing. Their guy he had no really option apart from to sort of control the ball out of play. Jerry Sterry put his hand on him, the guy fell over. And it's like, just don't touch him. It's like, if you don't touch him, he can't win a free kick off you. Just leave him alone. He can't go anywhere, even if he controls the bloody thing, unless he's sort of messy. And you've watched him for like 80 minutes. You know he's not that good. Don't touch him. Don't give him the opportunity to con the ref. Oh, you've touched him. Oh, he's fell over. Oh, they've won a free kick. And it was like that all game. It's like, just stay on your feet and stand, don't, oh, you've gone through him needlessly. It's just like they are falling over because they know they're going to win free kicks. So you've got to be smarter than giving them the opportunity to fall over really simply. And as I said before, I think for the first 60 minutes, the referee gave us lots more decisions than he gave them. And the only two big decisions he got wrong was the guy should have got sent off for kicking Lemaire's in the head. He knew exactly what he was doing. And Turnbull should have got sent off for pulling the guy back. It was a clear second yellow.
Neil, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I feel like I mostly agree. I still take issue with referees who are that shit, who can't kind of sort of see the difference between someone who's genuinely being found and someone who's just playing you. And that's what it was a lot of time. I mean, it was smart, and I think I said this before we came on air. I would do the same if I was a footballer. If I knew there was a referee who was falling for everything, and you're 1-0 away from home, you're top of the league, you're about to, extend that lead, you'd do it, wouldn't you? Because you just see the ref is going to give all the decisions as they sort of appear. And in many ways, as a ref, that's probably the easiest thing to do. Just pretty much go for everything as it appears. And then people say, oh, well, he could have given it. And that's why people like Jeff, Clive Eakin and that look at it and think, well, he did okay in the end, because he was giving everything as you would, if you were to toss a coin, you probably, it would go either way. I definitely think Turnbull should have been sent off by the laws of the game, because it was a clear booking. I don't know entirely what he was doing, what he got booked for what his first booking was, but fact is he was on a booking and he was in no man's land. He pulled the guy back, should have gone, and the ref didn't give it, which some people will say, oh, he was being smart there, but it was just another sort of sign of how sort of crap he was, really.
Any final thoughts on the game then before we move on? Before we talk anything else Cov-esque, Neil, you touched on something a few minutes ago where you said it was typical number 8. I want to know how you would set up your sort of shirt number first 11, assuming you were playing a 4-4-2.
Oh, 4-4-2?
Yeah.
I wouldn't play 4-4-2 though.
But if you're going I'm thinking specifically about shirt numbers.
Oh, right, okay.
So you're having, I guess we're largely agreed on 1 is your keeper, 2 is your right back, 3 is your left back.
Yeah, okay, yeah, right. Okay, got you.
First major question is, what are your centre backs?
5 and 6.
Oh, is in just numbers?
Yeah,
okay, yeah. 5. Oh, no, hang on. Yeah, 5 and 6, because then in the middle you've got
4 and 8.
8 and 8. Yeah, 8 and 4. Left wing's 11.
Right wing 7, then it's 9, 10 up front.
Yeah.
Isn't it all it's based on...
it's based on the old thing of the
based on olden days.
Yeah, it's based on the tactics and then how they move players. It is based on 2 and 3 were your fullbacks when you played 2-3-5.
Yeah.
And they move, but that's why in Holland they have the 6 as the left back, because they obviously move different players around as the system works. But that's why, and I think they have 3 at centre half, so they have 2, 3, 5, and 6. So I don't know where number 4 is in the Dutch system.
Where does number 23 go?
I don't know.
To LA Galaxy?
Yeah, exactly. It's a popular one nowadays, isn't it?
There's you, Paul. You're all like, oh, I hate Beckham. And then if someone says the number 23, and the first thing that comes into your head is Beckham.
No, it was Michael Jordan, but I didn't think that was football related.
That's where you got it from, wasn't it?
The lady doesn't protest too much. I'm glad that we were unified on that. There are some people, rogues, who'd say that 4 and 5 should be your centre backs. It's bullshit.
I'm not feeling it. No, it didn't feel right.
No, it doesn't at all. I'm glad that we got the correct answer there on that. I wanted to do a very quick check-in with you two. So Saturday marked Venus's 10 games in charge, which I imagine he spent with Jamie Clapham in that flat, possibly. Just party hats on. I wanted to get your view on how you think he's doing 10 games in. Neil? Any thoughts? Anything you'd like to point out?
He's been your typical new manager, hasn't he? New manager syndrome. Can I say that? The cliche.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, he's kind of just he's come in, giving a fresh perspective, giving players a sense that this is new, and we all know that helps. I think it's so hard to tell, because I do think we've kind of been winning games in spite of ourselves, in the same way as we were kind of losing earlier in the season when we didn't have to lose. It was kind of, it shouldn't be 17 games in and we're still not entirely sure what our team is or how if we're good or not. But I feel like it's still quite tricky to tell. And
did you hear Lee Burge in the post-match interview?
I didn't know.
Basically said, we probably deserve to lose that because we won a couple of games recently. We didn't deserve to win.
Oh, is that we're doing it now? Okay.
it was like,
well, if you could let me know beforehand so I don't have to turn up, that'd be good.
Karmic football.
It was quite sort of... I don't think as a professional footballer you meant to look at it that way.
Yeah.
No.
It was quite funny.
Good job we were listening to that, actually.
We didn't get the rub of the cosmos today. Yeah. Just for those who are wondering, that's 10 games from Venus, won 6, drawn 2, lost 2. That's good, isn't it?
Clearly, it's good. It's good, isn't it? He's getting results, and that's what managers do. But if for those people who care about the impact and the influence and everything that the manager does, from issuing fines to the training ground and all that sort of stuff, and just how good he is, I don't think there's anything for us to judge on at the moment, because so much else has probably impacted why we're winning games, and that it is a thing. New manager changes mindset, changes the way people think on the pitch. That is a thing. So you go through that, and then I think, without being too simplistic, the next 10, it's sort of that sort of Mark Robbins kind of thing now, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's the next 10. Does he sustain what he's been doing now? Does he sustain this good fortune and all this confidence? Can he come back from that loss? Which, let's face it, if that was Mowbray's team, if they just lost a match, you could pretty much guess that it's going to hit home with them and they'll end up losing the next game. So, yeah, let's see.
Paul, are we being a bit unkind to him because we hadn't won all season, and we were all bemoaning a squad that was chronically imbalanced and a defence that was poor, even though it was somehow keeping clean sheets occasionally at home? This is, I guess if you take the names out to protect the innocent, there is a world in which this is a remarkable set of 10 games, isn't it? But somehow it doesn't quite feel, there yet. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. He hasn't really made that many changes, has he? I mean, this team's pretty much, as you would expect, for the fact he has had no transfer window, similar to what it was. I mean, he has made less changes to the team, which is something we've all asked for. And I think, like my work colleague this morning said, well, what's been the major difference? I went, well, we no longer dick around. He went, what, you no longer try and play passing football? I went, well, no, we no longer try and play passing football from our own goal mouth. We're definitely more or quicker and direct than we were under Mowbray. So he has made changes in that sense. And I think his decision to give Stevenson more games has obviously been very advantageous. But also he had the same thing that Mowbray had, where he can't settle on a front three. It seems to change on a day-by-day basis, and where each player plays seems to change. And I think that has hindered us recently. We've still been getting results, but we look so disjointed. In the last couple of home games, we've looked disjointed until he's made at least one substitution. So, but it's difficult to say, because you do sit there and just go, well, League One is just so rubbish. It's just, amazing we've got to this point and we are still in, 6-7 points outside the playoffs?
Yeah, 6 points, I think.
But Scunthorpe, as I said, they're not the best side I've ever seen, but they just look like an organised side. And I think that's one thing we're getting closer to, is being an organised side. But I'd still prefer to see Ryan Hayes at left back than Lewis Page. I'd still like to see, some other players from the, I'd still like to see Kelly Evans rather than Jerry Sterry. The more I watch them, the more I don't think, they're really developed into class players. I don't think we'd have lost anything by playing our own kids in those positions. That still sort of annoys me. But we are where we are, and we will be in this situation until Christmas, really, won't we? Where we'll see what happens.
He's sticking to it, isn't he? He's sticking to that defence, especially just because of the run we've been on. I think it's the idea of keeping a unit there, so individually, some of them are having bad games. And Sterry's one of them. Personally, I like feels like a strong word. I accept him in that position. I think he's got quite a nice technique, actually. He's weak as piss. He really isn't very strong at all. And what makes me laugh is, I think, after one game he sort of said how he does work on his strength. He feels like he's a strong player, but that's just a lie, a pure lie. So that's not true. No, I just feel like he's keeping out with that defence for a reason. Has there been, this question, because I don't read much of the papers anymore, has there been any official explanation or reason for why Ryan Hayes gets absolutely nowhere near the first team?
He was injured for a bit. He got injured, then came back. I think the Wickham game was his first game back. But I
Banged
think he scored 3 goals.
Yeah.
He scored 3 goals this season, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Well, he did, but did Mowbray give any reason why after he did so well in, I think it was the Portsmouth game, and then he just was nowhere to be seen again? I haven't read anything or seen anything to suggest, we're not playing him because we don't think he's ready or anything like that. I just haven't seen anything about it.
I'm not seeing as much of the internet as I had previously, but I've certainly not seen anything. I'm being slightly exaggerating for effect here, but there is a part of me that thinks even if you don't play him at left back, with the impact that he's had in some of the games I've seen him in, there is a question about whether you'd play him as one of the front three. He's not. I think at a time when I'm not really advocating that, but I don't get how he can be so far out of the picture, unless, as you say, I think it's probably that he doesn't want to unsettle that back four, which is something that we've asked for, isn't it? And I guess you can't, turn the clock back. But he is definitely my preferred left back above Lewis Page, who I just don't get.
Yeah, I want him available. I want him available to us because it's just I don't see what in actual match time, game time this season for the first team. He's on an 8 average or whatever it is, just for the he's right up there. Yeah. He hasn't done anything wrong, apart from that what he did wrong the other game, and then he came back and scored 2 and set up another. I'll let him off the wrong thing because of what he did beyond that.
I'd said this earlier in the season, and someone had a go at me and called me a non-Coventry City fan. But if I was Ryan Hayes' advisor, I'd be telling him, look, in January, you need to think about what you're going to do for the rest of your career, because I think he's 21 now, so he's not a kid. He's barely really been given 10 games on the bounce at Cov. So you're getting to that point now where he has to make a decision what he wants to do and where he wants to play, because now you're getting rid of the in-season loans or the out-of-transfer window loans. It's difficult for him to go out and play competitive league football, which is what all kids need to develop. So in January, if we're not going to let him go out on loan, which is understandable because, he is our second choice left back and he is the only, unless Stokes is recovered, if I was advising him, and I think Page is only on loan till January, I'll be in Venus's door going, look, you either give me the second half of the season or you allow me to leave, because this isn't helping my career. I know that sounds really sort of strange coming from a Cov fan, but I've seen it with a lot of Cov kids who we just hold on to for too long. And it's like Barry Quinn was a prime example, Isaac Osborne, they just never get in first team games. We're sort of playing them here, we're playing them there. We bring in someone else to replace them instead of giving them a chance. For players like that, you've got to come to a decision. It's like, I'm either going to be given a chance here, and a proper chance, because all players make mistakes. You really need a run of 10, 15, 20 games to really become a first team player. And if we're not going to give him that this season, I can't say we're going to get to pre-season again. It's like, well, who do we play at left back? I'm still not sure if Ryan Haynes is good enough. Should we bring in another loan? It's like, you could have found that out this season. There was no reason other than an injury, which he may or may not have got if he was in the first team week in, week out, if he'd picked that up. So it's down to Haynes now how much he wants to do it. That surely he's got to come to a decision in the same way Connor Thomas did. Connor Thomas could have stayed, and he took the decision to go to Swindon, and now he's in their first team. And from what accounts I heard, he had a good game on Saturday. You've got to put your career first, even if it's the club you supported all your life, and say, I can't spend the next couple of years being a reserve at Cov. I've got to be a first teamer, even if that means dropping down a level just to show how good I am.
That's an interesting one, isn't it? Because it's the spectre of the feast is Chris Stokes. Because I agree with you. I think that if Stokes wasn't about, and possibly even though he is it? I think the correct answer is to say, look, this defence is doing okay statistically at least, and I'm going to leave it as it is but I'm going to send Lewis Page home in January, and I expect you to pick up from there. And I think that with this season being as it is, we talked about it briefly before we started recording, it's a shit show. I don't think we're destined for 14th, like in the Coleman years, I think. It's not, I don't think it's going to be, I think Neil, I know you're going to crucify me for saying this, But I think that if there was ever a time to say to Chris Stokes, well, look, we're going to see whether Ryan Haynes is good enough, then it's probably this season, isn't it? Because I think whilst we keep pushing for everything, we're not, 2 points off second, we're 6 points off playoffs. So I would like to see him, and I think he's a decent player, and I think he's the sort of attacking fullback that can give a lot of people a lot of problems in this league. Just very quickly before we leave left back, did anyone else notice Lewis Page do something that has become very, very unfashionable in football, but is another thing that I absolutely can't stand, is he gave it the stop play while the ball is still active and raise your arm and look at the lino. The Elliot
specific.
Ward,
when was that?
The Elliot Ward special. Either was it the guy slams it into the side netting. It's in the first half, I think it is. I saw it on the replay, and the ball comes over him. And rather than keeping his eyes on the ball, he stops, arm up in the air, looking straight at the lino, and the guy gets a shot off. No whistle, no nothing, and he goes mad about it not being offside. I haven't seen a player do that in ages, and I'm very, very happy about it because it used to drive me insane.
Well, it's a tactic, isn't it? It's like, I'm going to avoid getting told off here. If I look like I'm really angry at the linesman, then it might absolve me of any blame.
But it's also, it's slightly Bartes, isn't it? Where...
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, if you're so dedicated to actually being on it, then it puts an element of doubt in the ref's mind. But I'll tell you what else you can do. Just fucking defend the ball and let everyone else get on with their own job. But that's...
Do you know,
I know it's confirmation bias. I know it's confirmation bias to a certain extent, but if you'd have said to me which player in that team had done that, I'd have been like, "Oh, it's fucking Lewis Page. It's so obviously him." Right.
You've seen the other farce,
go on.
And it's worked in Cov's favour, but it's still a farce. Is Lewis Page was obviously got a 1-match ban, but his 1-match ban was in the FA Cup. But he's not. Yeah. West Ham not letting him play in the FA Cup anyway. So it's just sort of, well, you got a 1-match ban for a game he couldn't have played in. And I know that's I know it's just the way that these things work, and I know it doesn't really, in the grand scheme of things, affect anything, because it just means you'd have missed the Wickham game instead or something. But you would have thought the Football League would have sorted that out. Anyway, you know how we used to play Only Connect?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I've got an Only Connect question for you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. What links these people?
Are we doing buzzers here, or...?
No, I'll give you a list of people, and then I'll give you both a chance to answer at the end.
All right.
You remember how it used to be, so I'll give you 4 things, and you had to connect them all? Yeah?
Right. You say that, but we never remember.
We couldn't remember when we
couldn't remember anyway. Right, so, what links Robbie Keane, Jimmy Bullard, Gabby Ablongahor, Chris Hurd, Gareth Barry and Adam Johnson, Carl Ikimi, Andy Keogh, Carl Henry, Stephen Fletcher, Freddie Eastwood, Leon Best, Lee Hughes, but not, and I say not, Danny Welbeck.
What?
Can you run through those again, please?
Oh, God. Don't think I can. Oh, Stephen E. Monks-Blake was in it as well. Right, what links? Robbie Keane, Jimmy Bullard, Gabriel Bongahor, Chris Hurd. Is it Chris Ikwame? Goalkeeper at Wolves?
Kalakimi, yeah.
Yeah. Stephen E. Monks-Blake. Who else was it on this list? Gareth Barry, Adam Johnson, Andy Keogh, Carl Henry, Stephen Fletcher, and Freddie Eastwood, and Lee Hughes, and Leon Best.
Can you just go one more?
But not Danny Welbeck.
Can you just go through it once more? Not because I need to hear the names again. I just want to hear you mispronounce just one for me.
So what basically lists a shitload of players, most of them who played in the Midlands, but not Danny Welbeck.
You didn't pronounce any of their names correctly?
Nah, other than that.
What
question have I been waiting to ask for years?
I really don't know. No, you've lost me.
They were playing at the Midlands club while a certain Scottish footballer was also playing for Cov. And the word Ponzi scheme mean anything to anyone?
Oh, Michael McIndoe.
McIndoe.
Yeah, all players who lost money in Michael McIndoe's Ponzi scheme.
Is he still AWOL?
I think so. And what I love in the Daily Mail, it's got Arsenal and England star Danny Welbeck met McIndoe for dinner when at United to hear about his scheme. But Dan is a smart guy, and he didn't touch it, the source said.
Wow, Welbeck's that guy. No.
Nice one.
So yeah, I've been waiting to ask that question, but I could only ever find like 2 players who've been linked to it.
How is it possible to just disappear? Like, disappear but not be dead? Like,
what, Lord Lucan style?
Well, yeah, just, where is he?
I don't know.
Well, I shouldn't be asking you that, Paul. Obviously, it's not your job.
I guess a fake passport is quite cheap in the grand scheme of things. If you've nicked, like, how much money did he nick off everyone?
Oh, it was lots. Like certain players lost over £200,000 and stuff.
Millions, weren't it? I think Robbie Keane lost $1 million.
Yeah, I mean, some of the players. I mean, Lee Hughes lost 250,000, which just makes you smile.
I won't lose any sleep over that. Yeah.
I've got a story along those lines, actually.
Oh yeah.
So, you know, I used to play football with some famous guys.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the Kenyan international's twin brother became a basketball player in America. And he was over in America playing basketball, and then he wasn't very good at that, so he decided to open up some new tech company. And apparently he got involved with the law, and he's also on the run now. Because he was supposed to go to jail, and then he flew back to London, and now nobody knows where he is. He's done a McIndoe.
Nice, yeah.
I only knew that because I was stalking him.
In my head...
if I've got a list of people I'm going to stalk, it's like some Kenyan twins. No, that's not who I'm going to stalk.
Hey, he was meaningful.
Yeah. Stalking him in what sense? I have visions of Catch Me If You Can at this point.
I don't want to say yes, but...
I don't know if you're
Don't incriminate yourself. I just know. Listen to this.
I guess if you were working undercover, you weren't going to blow it right here by admitting it, were you?
No, I'm gonna take a punt that he doesn't listen to this show, but he could be like the reverse version of me and stalking me. Maybe I had that sort of impact on his life. I don't know.
What if this is the moment where you realise that you could finally be together? Like you've been...
God, will I have to do a McIndoe as well just to be with him? I don't know.
You were like, we've been stalking each other all these times. We never noticed. We're
quite love.
We're
There's
so
me
covert. We never
stories
noticed.
on the internet.
Oh dear. Right, okay.
I think we should have an annual Michael McIndoe award. Basically, players who disappear over the season.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
Like Kwame Thomas.
Oh, poor old Kwame Thomas. Yeah, he's a shoo-in for it this year, isn't he?
Oh, definitely.
Oh, poor Kwame.
And there was that lad. Remember last season? I was thinking about this the other day, and I couldn't remember. You know, if you watched the England game on Friday, you may have heard Glenn Hoddle talk about his academy. But there's also the Nike Academy, isn't there?
Yeah.
And we signed that kid, Basid.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, he's like, I remember the start last season, going, we've signed this kid from the Nike Academy. It was like, yeah, he's going to be in our reserves for probably about 5 years and disappear. He's still in our reserves, so he hasn't quite disappeared yet.
Yeah,
I don't like this like clinical use of the word disappear. It feels it's like a shit version of Crime Watch, isn't it? It's just like...
yeah, he's only a babby though, that's Soyud, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's just because you're not going to watch, under 23 games all the time, you don't know. You might be tearing it up. In fact, they are, aren't they? The kids' teams, aren't they? Top of their league.
They are, but I don't think he is.
Why not?
I could be wrong. He could be brilliant. Whenever I've seen it, I don't think he seems to be playing.
He might be playing a withdrawn role to the extent that he's not on the pitch. He might be really influential on the bench.
If anyone knows, tweet in and tell us how good this lad is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we may or may not read it. Right, I think we've probably done enough of all of this football stuff, haven't we? Oxford on Saturday. I mean, it's one... I don't think any of us want to do a preview, and nobody really cares about the previews. But we played them recently. Just cast your mind back to that.
They look quite good. I thought we were quite fortunate to beat them in the end. But
the Ruffler. They've got the Ruffler, haven't they?
Yeah.
Rufflecopter.
He scored the other week.
Did
he? Yeah.
Bloody hell. They've... their home form's not too bad. Their overall form's pretty crap.
Their away form was shocking when they came to us. I'm assuming if they're doing all right in the league, it's down to the home form.
Yeah, it's ever so slightly better. They've won 3, drawn 1, lost 2 in the last 6. But, you know, football, isn't it? Okay, right, I think we're probably going to wrap it up there. If you want to get in touch with us, the email address is neelampshow@gmail.com, or it's neelampshow on Twitter. Thank you very much, Paul.
Cheers, buddy.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening. Bye.